And this advancement of our FPS is going to give us more control, less memory usage, less of everything. It's going to be epically awesome, and you're going to love it because it's it's just the way we roll in this channel. We don't mess around. Now, I will warn you, this is an advanced stuff that we're doing right now. This is not for the beginner at all. And if you are barely understanding Unity, then I am sorry. You will have to find some reference material or so and just you'll just have to find some possible way. I mean, you know, it's going to be really advanced. So if you don't understand, hit the chat because that's what it's there for. Hit forums and stuff because we are definitely going to be going over some really good material, and I would love to be able to explain every single thing, but I can't because I would be here forever. I mean, like ever. It wouldn't even be right. So I don't know, but what we have going on right now, and I will explain it, is we are moving away from a mono-behavior script, and we are going to completely overhaul the way we do logic for games today. Now, some of these topics are going to be a little bit harsh, and some of them is going to be with a steep learning curve. I'm sorry for it, but I've done a lot of beginner tutorials, and I feel that we should up our game to see what kind of style we want and to get something for the advanced users that are out there that, you know, are like, oh, it's just beginning stuff and I don't want to watch this, and then they're leaving. Well, here's the harder stuff. And some of you guys have been asking for certain things and for me to explain stuff because you want a better way of doing something, and that is great. I love it. I love a challenge. So what we are going to discuss right now is the way we used it takes two arguments. What the heck's the problem here? Hit Ray, hit Al. Yeah. I mean, it's already doing that. Ray, out hit. Yeah, why the heck isn't it doing that? Okay, well, I will find that pretty soon. Is the way we usually do weapons and stuff is each individual game object that people use will be duplicates in our. This is going to drive me nuts here. Out hit. Why is out hit a problem? It is out hit. That's a vector 3. That's fine. Why? Out hit, return. Yeah. So why do you have a problem with this return values and stuff? Out vector 3, that's a return value. Okay. So closest hit. It's a transform. Wait a minute, this didn't have a problem with it. Wait, is everything saved? Okay, so you're complaining about my out hit variable versus this transform, and we out a vector 3, which is the out hit. So what seems is it because this isn't public? I know it's an internal thing, but You shouldn't have a problem with my ray casting like that. Oh, wait. R transform. We don't do that anymore. Okay. Okay. That seems logical. Okay, yeah. We're not using that variable. So, yeah, there's a mismatch going on there. Okay, that seems reasonable. But anyway, use of what this use of unassigned variable. Okay. This is something that drives me dry. Batty. Vector 3.0. Okay? You don't like that we don't use a variable when it, that's dumb. I hate that compiler thing. If you're trying to use a temporary variable inside the method, if you don't put a if you don't put a value in, it gives you a compiler error, which drives me nuts because it's unreasonable. So anyway, usually how people make weapons is they have a weapon script like we used to have right here, which would be FPS weapon. It would have all this information in it, like rate of fire, bullets, and classes, and this, and cameras, and that, and then, you know, well, we got one weapon, and it's got all this stuff, you know, so you duplicate it, and then you make a different weapon, AR, blah, 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 and then you duplicate it again, okay, and, well, this is fine and all, and everything, but what happens when you run out of memory for all these extra duplicate variables? Because, okay, the asset right here that I have for weapon system, which is a asset file, which I don't think I have one. Yeah, something like this. Okay, no, it's not that. Dang it. Maker, make weapon, put name, blah, 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 save, boom, we got that. So now we go over here, and what? That's not a serial. Oh, wrong one. Yeah. And this is fine and all because this is a reference, okay? And it only calls this reference like one time. That's fine. Okay, I'm fine with that. All right. So each time I use this, I can have like 10 different things. All I got to do is drag this in here. It's not instantiating 10 different copies of it. It's only doing one. It uses the instance of it instead, which is really nice. And, you know, instead of all these all these variables usually are in your weapon class, okay? So all these values are pulling memory, okay? Because, you know, that's the way it is. You need that memory to be pulled, all right? And this becomes a big problem when you start having multiple weapons, and then you're like, oh man, what in the world is going on here? Why is my program running really? It's using like 4 gigs of RAM or something crazy, and you just start looking at memory, and you're like, man, this uses a lot of memory. And it's because all the weapons that you have instantiated, it's really bogging down your program. So what we are doing is we are going to eliminate most of the bogging by, hey, our reload key, is it ever going to change? I mean, really, seriously, it's not going to change very much. So let's just have one value, a single value, and it works on all of our weapons, okay? Which sounds good to me. I mean, it's reasonable. That's me. Ray firing, we moved it into its own script and stuff, so we got away from using a script. We'll use one script instead of something else. So all this logic is being duplicated. It's like duplicate code, which is bad. If you ever have to sit there and keep duplicating code over and over and over again, it's time to rewrite. It's time to rewrite into a generic form that you can pass values or something in, because you're just using probably more memory than you need to use. Now, I'm okay with this being here and switching in between weapon types and stuff. That's fine. I'm fine with that. What type of weapon it is? Well, this will probably be a value again. That's fine. You know, I mean, that's reasonable for me. And we're probably going to have some type of helper class that's on the game objects for the weaponry. So, yeah, we're probably going to have that as well. And that's going to be reasonable as well, because those are values that change constantly. Because we may want to go from single to burst to full auto. And the good thing about that is when we do all of our logic, we can have it into a asset file which instantiates just one time, and we're just changing the values. Or we can get rid of this asset right here, okay, with all these values, and we can find a way to load them up from XML. That way it's more moddable later on. But, you know, that's completely up to what you want to do. This is just mostly a data container right now. This part, what our scriptable object weapon system is going to do, is going to be far more than just a class, okay? It is going to be part of a logic that's going to be used across multiple weapons. That's the job of it. So we do no longer have to instantiate multiple of something. It's all in one thing. All our logic. Bam. Weapon-based systems. So we've already done the ray casting, which is right here. Okay. And we have very values here that should be all the time here. We have a static reference to our weapon class, which is the data that's going to be in this class. And we always have a reference to our weapon camera, because our weapon camera does not change ever. And we don't want to sit there and keep doing GameObject.find or camera.main or anything else, because camera.main is going to return the first object that it finds that's got the tag camera.main. It might not even be the camera that you want. It may be somebody else's camera when you're on multiplayer and you can't even see your own guy. That would suck, right? I mean, you're sitting there shooting and you have to use your buddy's screen to shoot him. How hard would that be? It would be fun to me, but you know, I'm the kind of guy that likes a challenge. But for somebody else, they would go, "Oh, this game sucks. It's got bugs, and you know, it's horrible. Who's the guy who programmed this thing? He was just dumb, or he was just smoking some stuff. You know, he was hitting that left-handed cigarette." So yeah, we definitely got to do something about that, because it's just the way it is. So we definitely have to be better programmers and better people. All right. So yeah, we gotta up our game and be awesome like that. Yee-haw, right? Let's go. So what can we do? Well, as I was saying, we've got a scriptable object. Well, here's the thing about this. We've got a scriptable object, a weapon system, but we need a weapon system scriptable object. So how are we going to do this? Well, it's awesomely easy. It's fabulous. We will be passing a value that's going to be a asset like this. So in the past, we made these scripts like this. So let's go into asset builder, okay? And to make an asset is relatively easy. All you have to do is this code right here. That's it. So where are we going to put this? This has to be an editor script and stuff like that. Well, I'm going to go into our folders into advanced scripts and make a editor script, okay? Advanced, I'll call it editor advanced, and I'm going to open it in mono develop, okay? And in mono develop, I'm going to get rid of all this junk right here because I don't care about it. And I'm going to paste in this stuff right here. Oh yeah, let's go. Make weapon, make FPS asset. This right here, this stuff right here doesn't even matter. It matters not a single bit because it's going to be part of the tools that we're going to use. Now the reason everything is red is because we have no access to the editor functionalities, which a menu item is the editor namespace. So using Unity editor, bam, everything goes green. Yeah, awesome. So now we are going to want a scriptable object, which is not part of our weapon class, but part of our weapon system. Okay, so weapon system. All right. Let's go in here and we will copy weapon system here. Create instance of weapon system. Okay. And this is a scriptable object. It has to be a scriptable object because we're creating an instance of a scriptable object. So we have to do it that way. So where is this going to go? And what are we going to name this? It's going to be asset, yes, and we're going to save it after we're done. We're going to go into asset and then slash. Where is this going to go? Well, in our editor we got advanced scripting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, this thing ever wants to compile and be nice to me, okay, copy, so that way I make sure I do all the spelling right, and then I'm going to paste. And it sucks and it's broken again. Oh my god, it's so annoying. Thank you, Mono Develop, whoever has this bug. You cannot copy and paste now. It doesn't work. It's broken. So what did I call it? Advanced scripting. Okay, so advanced RIP, and it has to be spelled exactly right or you get an error, which is just a pain. So where are we going to put this? FPS tools? Make weapon asset? No. We are going to call this build weapon systems. Build weapon systems. Okay, so we are going to do it that way. So the cool thing about this is this will give us a single instance of it, which we can use to reference. So we are going to go back into the Unity editor, like so, and let it do its cool compiling stuff. And we should get an error. And we don't. Well, we should get an error because I've got this editor script. Okay, it's probably because it is not building out to an executable, an exe copy, in other words. So I'm going to take this editor script and I'm going to throw it in this editor folder for our advanced scripting. Okay, so it'll recompile because I moved code and it has to, do all the internal work. And don't worry about that one because it's a dumb class that I just made for fun. So here we go with this. Now, because of this part here, we will have to make a weapon system of some kind. And what I mean by that is we do not have a weapon system, okay, like this. But if we go into our advanced type of weapon and we place it, we have no weapon system. This is a variable, just like make weapon. It's a variable in the camera. Well, the camera, is any camera that you place in there. The weapon stuff is just what you want to put as a weapon. So if you want to put this in there for a weapon, that'll be fine. But what about the weapon system? Well, here's the thing. We go into FPS tools, and remember me saying build weapon system? Well, we build it out to an executable thing. Well, weapon, scriptable object, okay. Advanced scripting. Alright, so it named it advanced scripting, which is silly and wrong. And it did not put it where we want. So why is that? And that just really irritates me. Why did it not do that? It was supposed to put it where I want. Okay. That's going to be irritating. I don't like it. So in our editor script, let's open it up. Why did you put it in the other stuff instead of that? So advanced scripting, it's because I don't have a slash mark. And then we put, okay. So now, instead of putting it in here and doing this, like a goofball script, it should give us what we want. And what I want is it to be dropped in here. So let's build it out again. And bam, it's there. And it's named weapon system. Now you're like, well, why did it do that? Well, there's a simple explanation. And it's really easy to do. If you go into and you're going to drop a file, here's a folder, okay, and then it needs a slash mark to extend to the next extension level. Like you're going from one door to the next. So you need to go to this door, and then to here. Well, when you get to this last door, whatever this name is, dot asset, is exactly where your file is going to be dropped at. Very, very easy to make that mistake, and I've done it a billion times. Don't feel bad if you have something happen. Just go and fix it. No biggie whatsoever. So we built a weapon system, right? Well, wait a minute. This is the weapon system. Why is in our scriptable object we have functions in here? This can't possibly work. Well, you would be wrong. It works just beautiful and fine, okay? Because it is part of the engine. It's just a generic class and built out to an asset. It'll work. And what's great about it is you can have this in a static reference for weapon logic, And this can work across all your weapons. Weapon systems can be part of our manager class for everywhere, and we could just pass reference to every one of them. Boom, 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 boom. And instead of having multiple weapon systems, we just got one everywhere. And that is epic. Now, the weapon data, we have to have more because that's how we change our times and all that stuff. Camera, camera, that's just the way it is. But we're not actually going to be changing this ever. See, our weapon is more of a weapon manager script than anything. The actual logic that's going to be shooting and stuff is going to be this weapon script. But everything that we're going to see is going to be part of a helper class that just does the animations and stuff like that. We don't need anything besides the visuals to work on a totally different level. Everything that's data-wise can be right here in one script. One central script. So, like like before, we have this right here for one weapon. And I want instancing. I want instancing really badly. So, what can we do? We've got weapon systems now built, which is great for us. Alright, so in our weapon system, we have our scriptable object for data, which is fine. That's cool. So if this is what we actually need, we're going to need some type of collection or even just a regular game object for this. So let's say for now we want a public, not physics behavior 2D, public game object. Not the small one, we need the big one. Come on, Maya, don't be goofball to me. Gun, okay? Gun. We only need one for now. We will deal with multiple guns when that happens because we are going to do everything in a certain order. So we've got our weapon logic. This does all that logic stuff. Okay, then we got a weapon class that we're referencing for a singleton. Okay, that sounds fine. In our weapon logic, we don't need an update. So we don't need an update whatsoever. So let's go into our thing and let's get rid of the update. We don't need it. It shouldn't be there. Blah, blah, blah. Do we need a start? No, it never gets called because it's not a mono behavior. It just has access to stuff when it needs it. So we have this ray fire, which is fine. We need it. So what else could we possibly do that we need? So let's go into our other thing. Fire time. Well, fire time is just a delay time and stuff like that. That we only need one of. Does it need to be part of the weapon system? No. I don't think it should. I think it should be over here. Because we're always going to be using fire time and time.delta time right here. And it won't matter if it's here in a mono behavior because it's only going to be one. So we need fire time, right? Right. And we're going to go through this slide by slide. Reloading. This tells us when we are reloading and everything else. Does this need to be here? Well, we only need one of them. I think it should be part of our weapon system right here. Because it's always going to be changing states and things like that. And we only need one of them because this script will probably be doing all the updating for the animational side or so. It's going to be telling what it needs to do. Okay, because it's doing time, yes, and everything. That's fine. So what are we going to do next? A reload key. Do we need this to be here? A reload key. Well, if we put it in weapon systems, it's kind of silly to have it in weapon systems, I think. Should it be part of the mono class or should it be part of our weapon system? And to be honest with you, it could be either, I guess. But for me, I feel that it should be part of our mono thing. Okay? Right here. Sounds fine to me. I'm fine with instantiating this and everything because we're going to do checks and stuff like that, and it's probably going to happen here. Okay, so our checks is going to be here, a helper class, and we're going to skip this. A reload timer. Oh yes, this is going to be something that's going to happen here in our weapon system. We are definitely going to be doing it here because this will constantly be changing and stuff based on every weapon that we have. So, and two, I do not believe scriptable objects will allow us to change this. So we are definitely going to have that here. Okay, because we only need one of them, that's fine. I'm fine with instantiating memory for that. Our weapon type. This will constantly be changing from another type of class, which could actually end up, no, it won't be part of that. But we will have a separate thing for it, that's for sure. Because we are going to load information from XML to what we actually need for here. So, or we can put it part of our weapon object, the data container, which is here. We will have multiple ones and be able to go, hey, what do we need here? Is it none? Is it this? Is it this? We'll probably end up putting it here, but I have no problem it being in this system because it seems like something that should be part of the mono. Okay, and I'm fine with that. That's great. Okay, and we got shots and in gun. This I'm fine with being here as well. Okay, now this is looking like this is going to start getting a bigger class, and it actually kind of is going to be a little bit of a big class because it's going to do a lot of work as well. Now, for the next thing, we don't have this anymore, okay, because it's part of our static variable, our singleton here. So we got the weapon camera, that's fine. We used to have as a weapon camera value for each one of them. So it's pulling memory to get a reference every single time, which we don't do that anymore. Now, weapon sway. This is another class that I think is foolish to have multiple ones. I was always against this. And now I finally get to fix it and be like super awesome about it. This will be part of our weapon system. This will definitely be part of our weapon system. Weapon sway, I never changed this this system at all, so we can definitely, most definitely use this. Most definitely use this. We will be using the crumb out of this thing. So it will definitely be part of this class right here. No doubt in my mind will it be part of this class. Which means we will have to do some updating and stuff, which is fine. I mean, actually, we may not be able to do that. No, I don't think we can. So it's giving me a warning about, oh, that's right. Yeah, it can have that. Duh. Big red truck. So, and the cool thing about this is, alright, so our weapon sway requires some. And our weapon system is containing it now. So it only has one of them per thing anyway. So weapon sway requires some information anyway. So this would be a good time to make a start method, which will have to be public. Public void on start. Doesn't have to, be perfect or anything like that, but it makes it kind of nice. So what does sway need? Sway dot initial needs a transform, which this is the initial transform for our actual weapon objects. So it will be the actual model itself. So do we have some form of reference for the actual model itself? Which we do. It's part of our singleton action. So we go weapon, we go into here and we pass it weapon dot weapon class dot gun. Okay, we're passing it its gun, and that's all that it needs. Why are you complaining? Oh, because it's not a transform. Dot transform. It's expecting a transform. Okay, really? Oh, duh, I'm not calling it where it's supposed to be. Oh, yeah, that's just awesome, right? So, what can we possibly do with this now? Well, that's okay. We will be doing a awesome rope about. We'll probably need another public void on date, and I would just put update because it's not gonna do the mono stuff anyway, but I want to make it specific for other people looking at the script to go, hey, this is not an update, this is something else, this is something custom. So we actually are making it easier to read. So we're going to do sway dot sway update. What would sway update be? So let's go take a look at that method anyway. So we're actually going to go into the class now. Go to declaration. Weapon sway update does exactly one thing. We had a value for the transform after the initial, and it does nothing but slurps the local rotation, which is fine. I mean, I never changed this, so I never have an issue with it. So yeah, this is going to be epic. So we have everything that we need here done. Weapon systems is officially online and doing stuff. We are not updating it like it should and stuff, which, I mean, I guess it would be a pain and stuff, but it'll happen. Okay, so advance, and then we have our weapon systems. Look here. Looky. Okay, so Unity weapon. in our weapon systems, we got a class right here. And it does all the cool stuff that we need. Angle, smoothing, and all that great stuff. So it can hold a class. Wow, that's just amazing to me. A scriptable object. So this scriptable object right here is holding all those functions that we need. So when we go up to our weapon, we have weapon system. It's a reference. It could be static so that, well, it couldn't be static. But yeah, actually, let's take a look at it again. Weapon systems. If it didn't have weapon sway in there, probably yes, I would say. Yeah, if it just done functions like this, then I say, well, no. No, this couldn't be. But this will always work for a single player. That'll work fine. Even if you went to multiplayer, and I'll say this, multiplayer usually will have custom stuff anyway. And what happens is anything that happens on other people's, besides like their master or the server will go, hey, I got a command that you shot somebody. But on the server side, it will do all the ray casting and stuff. Because on the server side, it doesn't need a camera, it doesn't need all that other stuff. All the server does is update your information based on your inputs and stuff. So everyone else that's on the server, usually all they're doing is just seeing the animations and stuff. All the actual black magic stuff is actually happening on the server side. Because you're just basically telling the server, hey, shoot a ray on the server and tell me what it hits and does all that stuff. So this could work, you know, if you done commands from a server and changed up the logic a little. Yeah. But this is mostly for a single player game anyway. So yeah, we're going to go with a single player on this anyway. But you could use it multiplayer. But what you have is everyone else doesn't actually use this weapon script. It'll be disabled. And on their screen, they do all the logic of shooting like you would. And they're just like dummies on there. They only like animate and stuff. They're only like placeholder objects. So you could do some magic like that and get this to work. But I'm not really going to be going into that just yet. Maybe later. So yeah, awesome stuff. So weapon.sway is doing the update here, but it's not actually updating yet. What we actually need to do in our code is, since we have these start and updates, we actually have to call them from our class. So what we will do is down here we will go Pacific weapon logic dot on start for the start. Okay, and we will go weapon logic. Oh, there it is. Weapon logic dot on update. Bam. Simple as that. Easy, done. Go. Game over. All right. Yeah. So we have that part. Moving and offset. Offset was a silly little variable that I hated, and I think it's dumb. But apparently I need it for some reason. I do not remember why. So why? It's because my bullets were going through the wall again. So I needed a little bit of up. But I could hard code that in. I could actually hard code that in And it would work, but that means I'd probably be instantiating a new vector 3 every single time I shoot, which doesn't sound really great to me. So do I want a variable of offset? I think I'm just going to have to bite the dirt on it and make one. Because I basically am doing it right here. So why don't I just make it a permanent thing? I know, I'm not a big fan of it, but it does what it's supposed to do. If your bullets are going through the model a little bit and you want to fix it, it's kind of like one of those cosmetic things. You could put another game object and fudge it and stuff, but that means another draw call. So every time you shoot, you're going to have like 2 versus 1. That's, no. Serializable field, that way we can see it in the inspector and stuff, and not have access to it when we don't have to. So what is our next job here? Well, inputs. Wow, inputs is a very, very silly thing. And, well, let's see. Inputs. Do we actually need anything to deal with the input system? Now, in our old system, we was passing this around. It was quite messy as well. So, are we going to go with a singleton version of it? Or are we going to just pass it around? And I think what I'm going to do with this is definitely do a singleton design. But do I have to? I have this weapon system. I have a weapon. It's only one. And the reason why I was passing it around was because I was using multiple game objects as a weapon class. So I needed that information. So do I have to pass it? And the answer is no. I don't have to pass it around anymore. But I do need to have it. So what we are going to do for now is we are definitely going to take this private variable and we are definitely going to have it. We need a reference to the inputs. There's no doubt in my mind, because I'm not going to do a get component every single time. That's just insane. And for some reason we are getting an error. And the reason why this exists in this script versus in the other script is because the script location, this is in a child of our scripts folder. So this is actually a parent folder. So it can't go into another parent that's right next to it. It's a really silly thing that goes with Unity and it drives me nuts at times. But here's what I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to give you a great example of why I hate it. And here's the error. Namespace inputs cannot be found. Are you missing something? And what happens if you want to fix this? It's because the script that we need is in here. Okay? There's 2 things you can do with this. You can make it. You can move the folder to scripts. And it will recompile. And it still does it. That's dumb. Or put it in this folder. And then it should stop. No, it doesn't. So, it doesn't stop there. Okay, so let's go. Wait. Actually, I already know why. We can put this back here. In our input system, we are using namespaces. And I completely forgot about it. So FPS weapon, look, experimental, and we have FPS or fps.characters.inputs. We need the namespace. Okay, so in our weapon up here, we are going to have the namespace, and boom, it works. Yay! We got inputs. Awesome. Well, technically we do, but not really. So, what's up next? Blah, blah, blah. What's up next? Doc. Doc. Yep. All right. So, we are going to let this compile and stuff because it has to do that stuff. Alright, so in our script here, we've got this, which most likely will always exist on our parent character. Okay, so in our classes like this, we will have access to scripts, and most likely we will just put the input system on here by itself. Or here we go, inputs. All right, so we just stick it in there. All right, we should always have this exist. I mean, there's not a big deal about it, right? I mean, come on. And what's going to happen? Well, me, since I've been streaming for over an hour, I'm going to take a small little breaky because this guy's got to, go do some stuff real quick. So we're going to do this, and I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, now I am back. So we go back up to our windows and bring it. And the awesome thing about this is simple. If we are using this class properly, we will save ourselves a whole lot of memory and headache. But we're going to have to do it smartly. So we have our input system that we just stick in. It doesn't matter. So what else could we do that would be really great? Well, we got a reload key. That's only instantiated. We got this weapon type. But really, weapon systems, then there is weapon data. In our weapon data, can we do something with that? And yes, we can do something with our weapon data container. We can do something with it as well, because it is nothing but a scriptable object as well. So we can pass stuff into it as well, just like we're doing with our weapon system. So what I was thinking about was we have a we have our we have the ability to pass stuff in, yes, but we have another script that we used for switching what type of weapon states there were. Now it was a separate script, but that separate script was really done quite well because it gave us the ability to change weapon states. So it was really nice. So what we can do is in our weapon script, we are going to have to separate the logic in such a manner that we can change states really easily. And what I mean by that is in here, well, no, that's not it. In our, where is it? Enemy spawner, UI, our manager, pooler, simple asset, JJ, scripts, pickup, weapon maker, loader, level, mods, make item, player state manager, nope, spawn system, manager, okay, that's dumb, inputs, sweat. Okay, so we got a helper class. That's not it. Weapon setup. No, that's not it as well. Weapon states. Okay, weapon states. That's great. So, in our weapon states class, all right, we've got alpha keys and a variety of other stuff. So, it's actually doing a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Weapon helper, no, we don't need that, but we may later on. Okay, so asset builder, no, we don't need that. Advanced editor, and no. Weapon states, okay. In our weapon states, we are doing an array of change weapons, which change weapons is is it auto? Is it an automatic, or is it, and we're pushing a enum into a value. So basically, whatever this value says in the array, we set it when we hit the input down. So what happens is we end up getting a way to select what state we're actually in, which is really nice because that means that instead of doing some silly stuff of changing, having multiple scripts and things, we can have, well, yeah, we could have that part of our weapon system, but it's not really going to be great. Well, the changing of this, that would be cool, but the weapon data part itself would have to be in here. So in our states, we're going to have this here, okay? We're going to have this here because we want to get it out of here and into here, because this is going to be our data container for this type of weapon. So we're going to take this and we're going to go enum goes here. and this is an array of automatic, and this never changes at runtime. What we're doing at runtime is selecting each one that's in the array. Okay, so it makes absolutely no difference if this is in a scriptable object or anything else. So we need this in here. Okay, so the next thing is our player states. We have the name and the name, and these are integers. Why do we have those? Well, the name is an integer and an integer. Name 1, name 2. Well, I have absolutely no... Yeah, I don't even know why we have this. So let's do find all references. Bam. We actually no use them at all. Bam. We don't use them at all. So, hey, goodbye. Doom. Okay. Laser.object. Why is... Oh. Yeah, I completely exited out the wrong thing. Oh, that's great. Let's just bomb that one, buddy. So, I'm doing that and let it compile. Okay, no errors. So we're good. Okay, that's there. Now, this layer mask is for the laser. Are we ever going to want a laser on our weapons? Which begs the question, are we? I mean, that might be really cool. I'm not even gonna lie. Some weapons we may want a laser, which would be pretty freaking epic. I'm not even gonna lie. But it would be maybe kind of dumb. So, you know, it's one of those things. This could be its own class, you know, where it's on the weapon, you know, when you need it, and if it's not on the weapon, we just, you know, don't have it at all. You know, yeah, that sounds reasonable, right? No, all depends on your game, I guess, right? So in our start, we will make sure we are currently we have all these key bind codes, okay? And what these key codes are for is actually for the weapon system. So we are going to actually need these key code things. And these key codes are not actually required, but I want them to be able to change it up maybe at runtime. So we need key codes so we can change it. Like this reload key, this is a key code. Okay. So we will change this to be here. Okay, and this will be the last one. Okay, and we'll delete it from here because it's a key code. Okay. And what this does, and it's not used a whole lot, I'll admit, but what you do to use multiple things like this is, let's say you want a game object. Okay, you got a public game object, not the lowercase one, but the uppercase one, game object, go, okay, and then you're like, well, I need another game object for a completely different task. Okay, so all you'd have to do is do your little marking thing like that, like you're doing a sentence, okay, and you want the second part of your sentence like a small little pause, and then you do a name, like gun 2, and then you got gun 3 dash gun 4, and you just keep giving names. And it's a lot easier to write something like this, like 4 different objects, but it's kind of harder to read if you're not used to that type of coding system, okay? completely up to you which way you want to go. Now, for this particular thing, we have our player states, okay? Our target, well, what is our target? Our target was a weapon script, which we no longer have. So our target script was doing stuff, okay? So what was it actually doing? It was changing. It was calling a function, okay, inside of our script. So let's take a look at that function. Okay, not in here, not in here, not in here. Okay, and we are going to be looking for a function. There's reload, there's that, weapon system, weapon states. Okay, not here, not here, not fixed update, or weapon change. Okay, what weapon change you should do is change the bools around in our weapon type. Okay, which, since we're doing a weapon system in here, we don't really need to even do that type of stuff. So for our case, in our start right here, in our base system, okay, we're not doing any of that stuff, but we do have a weapon type here, weapon type. So we're going to have to do some finessing with that. And what weapon type is an enum. And if you know enums, they are numbered partially by array. It's just basically an array, but in a string type form. So if you really wanted to change it up from something like this, target, change, and you would pass your integer inside of it, just like you would an array. So what we're going to do is we're going to need some key code stuff, okay? We're going to need all these key code like things right here. And we are going to cut them, okay? And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? Blah, 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 blah. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll be fine. Actually, we're not going to cut that. We are going to paste it in someplace else. You're like, well, that's copy and pasting. Don't do that. Well, you know, here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and write something that I know I'm going to write again. So current state. We do not have a variable for current state, do we? Which makes me want to make one. So current state, and this deals with everything. So we're going to do a public int current state. Bam, our current state that we're in. That's great, right? It gives us an index of some form for the weapon system. So let's take a look at what it used to do. And it used to do a lot of checks. Well, no, it didn't do any checks because it didn't need to. Because we have return types and stuff like that for links, if else, and things. So we don't need to do checks. But we are going to go into our weapon script. We have all this. Instead of target weapon, we are going to have it go someplace else, which is going to be in our weapon data. Okay, so I know it's going to be in our weapon data. Data dot max clips, ray, reload, rest. Changer. And then this is the enum in our script, isn't it? Class, make weapon, Yes, it's a enum. So we will have to go and do something with that. Well, okay. As soon as I get to where we need to go, instead of this, we will be doing dot actually I'm doing this wrong. Huh. So what's our enum for here? Our enum from here is weapon type. Okay. Which is fine. Equals weapon data dot current state dot auto. Okay. And then we have a variable for automatic, right? Auto? Auto, yes, no. Ooh, no, actually that would be part of our input system, isn't it? Yes, that was part of our input system. Target. And then in our weapon script, we were doing input.auto equals this.auto. So we will do something like this still, but a little different. And that will work just fine. So we're going to go this dot input equals weapon data dot weapon s changer, the array that we're currently in, which is current state. And we're not doing that, we're doing weapon change. And we're doing current state again, aren't we? Yep. Dot. Wait. We should have a dot, right? Oh, we got a minus up here. That's right. Wait. Weapon type. Oh, I got this wrong. This needs to be down here. And this up here needs to be weapon data. This dot. What? Why are you complaining about that? Oh, yeah, that's right. This dot input dot auto it's probably because of this. Yeah, it was because of that. Weapon type. Weapon type is an enum by itself, right? And this is an enum. Yeah. It's an enum. Type equals weapon data, our collection of current state. Okay. Dot. Wait. We should have a dot here. We should not have a problem with another dot. S changer. Oh, this code right here. Why'd you just stop being a butthead? Actually, I'm going to delete this code. Delete. Because I don't want to have all that stuff messing with me right off the bat. Let's do this, and we'll stop doing that silly stuff. Well, I was hoping, but it's not. Why are you giving me such a fuss? Okay, I'll do this. This dot weapon type equals your but it's not going to let me do that right away because we need to be casted to this type, and what the type is weapon type needs to be converted to the weapon type itself. Okay, and the reason why is because it needs to be told what it is. It's not going to be able to know what it is without casting it to a type, like a type of enum, type of something. Cannot explicitly. What the? Okay, whatever, dude. Whatever. I know I was doing it before and it was perfectly fine. Bull, weapon type. Okay. So, what's the deal here? I was passing it that way before, right? No, I was passing the actual enum. Well, I could do it in a constructor. That wouldn't hurt nothing, but it kind of makes it stupid that I just can't do it directly like that. Actually, I should be able to do it directly because it's going from one enum to the next, right? Shouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah. So, weapon. Dot. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, it goes directly like that. Yeah, I had an extension where I wasn't supposed to. Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, now I got no issues. Yeah! Okay, so that takes care of our weapon state, the first one. But we have multiple ones, so we're going to need some finessing here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to control. Whoa. Actually, I messed up in a way because this done more logic than what I was expecting. So let's copy it back in here. Okay, and I will show you exactly why I'm saying this had more logic. Is it has more logic because of if this array that we're checking for is not a certain length, it skips stuff. So we don't have to do certain things. So this logic right here just gets pasted here. Okay? Perfectly easy, right? And then we just take our thing, which this also brings me to the other thing. Okay? First of all, I'm copying and pasting stuff, which is all bad. We don't need this. We don't need this. What we should do is do exactly this. This is where this begins. This is where it ends. Okay? So where's the update end? Right here. This is beginning. This is the end. Okay. So, bam. Another logic here. So, and you're going to see we need a private void. Okay. Update weapon states. Okay, which takes no values whatsoever or anything. And what this does is one specific thing. See this logic here? That's all it does right there. That's all it does. So we put it here. And instead of calling this writing this multiple times, we delete this now. Bam. And we call update weapon states. Okay? Update weapon states. Bam. And we will change our logic thing for weapon data. Bam. We go weapon data dot weapon data dot weapon data dot weapon data dot. So we have all that. We probably don't need this last one or nothing like that, but you know, it's one of those things that just cycles through CPU usage. Update weapon states. Bam. And what this does is this checks the length of stuff. If the length is not what it needs to be, then we don't have to worry about, hey, this is out of range or anything like that. If it does not hit a certain length, it does not care, and it just does nothing. So that is exactly what it needs to be. Which brings me up to this point. So this makes it very easy for in our update for weapons, which update states should actually probably contain this. Because let's face it, this is an update state on its own. So let's just cut this out, put all this stuff in here. Where's this end? Right here. Okay, so we need another curly brace, right? Void update, private void. Why is this complaining about this? Unexpected symbol. Really? So, here we go. We have too many curly braces. Okay, so it does that. So we need to call this an update so that it updates information, right? And that's what we do, update states. Okay, so that does all our inputs and does all the logic that we need it to do for changing states based on our weapon data collection. So in our data file, we have the array type, which is really nice because we've got the length of everything. We have the length, and it will do everything that we possibly need. So, yeah, that's going to be awesome and epic and stuff because of, well, let's go into Unity. Let's see what I mean by this. Okay, now we need a weapon object. Okay, scripting and this, compile, blah, blah, blah. Not that one, right here. See this weapon as states? This, oops, hit my mic. This gives us enums, okay? So each state will give us stuff. If this is single fire, full auto, burst, shotgun, melee attack, or we are throwing the weapon. Okay, we're throwing a grenade. I mean, we've got several like case scenarios. We haven't put the logic into our class yet. Like single shot, then there's full auto. Okay, so single shot right here is element 0. Okay, well, we want full auto right here. Alright, so then the next one would be, let's say, melee. Okay, we want to hit, right? That's cool. And now, because we have a length of 2, which array start at 0, remember that. In our logic here for our buttons, it makes sure that the states is right. See this weapon data, and then it checks for length. Each one of these, make sure there's the length there. Okay, you're not going to have probably more than X amount anyway, so I just didn't even care, and I put something. Alright, which this last one right here will probably just delete. We'll probably never have that, and it'll never call anything. You'll probably never have more than 3 states. I mean, come on. That's just crazy talk right there. I mean, how many different states could you have for a weapon besides 3? Hit, full auto, single shot, grenade launcher. I mean, besides that, that's like 3 different types of functions the weapon could do. And that's enough for anything. I mean, anything beyond that, you would probably just have too much stuff in there, and the player couldn't use half of it for their gun. So let's keep that limited in mind. And it gives us the ability to have a lot of case scenarios. So now we've got something we can work with. All right. So that gives us the ability, okay, to change weapon states based on our weapon data. So what else could we need? Well, we have our array firing in here, but we don't actually have the weapon stuff. The actual weapon stuff itself. So in our FPS weapons, we've got a lot of case scenarios, enumerators, and a lot of other things. What are we going to have that needs to be done? Well, before we had weapon sway. In our start method, we had this. Alright, well, we'll probably need that, right? So let's go in our update. Well, that's not an update. That came from start, didn't it? Right. Okay, so we're going to have that in start for our weapon. Because that that's part of this class, I think. Not something that needs to be in the weapon logic, like what the weapon actually does. Okay, so we're going to have that firing time stuff in the start method here. Okay, that's fine. But it's not weapon info like that. It will be weapon data dot firing rate. Okay, we have that. That seems reasonable. Okay. Okay. And let's go into next thing, weapon camera. Well, we no longer do that. Are we going to do an instantiation of some type? Which I don't know why we have this spawn thing. Weapon name. Huh. That makes me think that we're spawning the actual weapon or something. That just... no, I don't like it. Okay. Reload length. This is actually an animation clip and we're getting the length of it. Do we actually want this? And the answer is probably no. Are we going to have reload time? Well, we don't actually decrease the reload time. We're actually just passing it. So do we need this? No, not really. Ray fire, well, we already got that. Weapon camera, yep. Reload timer equals the reload. Yes, we will actually need something of this nature. So we're going to copy this. And we have a seconds here. Well, we need something in a start solution. So, yeah, that sounds right. And it should be a reload time. Well, we don't actually have a variable for that anywhere. I don't think we even have it in the reload time, reload time, reload time. I think it is reload length, but we don't actually have a reload time. And that is going to be a real pain in the butt. So in none of our stuff we have a reload time. We have a wait, but we actually need a length version of it, which isn't going to be too happy. So what are we going to do? Well, what I'm going to do temporarily is do this. I'm going to do a public float reload time, okay? Because we need it and it should be there and all that stuff. I'm going to put a default value of 0.5, which I know is, but you know, it's a good base value to start off with, half a second, right? So now in our weapon class right here, instead of this, I'm going to go weapon data dot reload time. Okay. And this will give us a reload time and everything that's based on that type. So it's kind of fudging the old problem of, hey, I need something that's going to be the length of it, but you know, it's just one of those things. Now, scriptable objects cannot have an IE numerator, which kind of sucks. So we're going to have to do the reloading logic in here, which is fine for me. I'm fine with that. But we are going to have to do some restructure for that type of functionality, which we got into our start method. All right. So we had these if statements and stuff like that for different stuff, which is fine, but we no longer do this way. And we shouldn't have kind of logic this way anyway inside of our actual weapon class. This logic doesn't even have to should it actually exist in our weapon systems or just the weapon class itself? And that is an interesting thing to ask. An interesting way to ask. Because this ray firing is being done by that, but so what are we going to do? Well, it's simple. We've got ray firing, we've got a kick function, which our kick function is really easy. Okay. And we can do that. Actually, we can do this. We can get out of this loop right here as well. But our kick function is really easy, so let's do that. Our kick function is right here. Ooh, actually, it requires a vector and a reference. In our weapon system, we do not have a reference to a game object, do we? So it's probably going to be in our weapon system. That's kind of a bummer. Well, no, not really. No, we could do something like that. It's actually looking like a lot of this will be part of our weapon script anyway, because we don't need this. These right here, this makes me feel like this should be on a class of its own, because all we're doing is lerping positions, and that makes me feel like it should be a type of movement class. Okay, and that would make me feel better to have it part of a movement class than to have it something really weird. So I think that's what I'm going to go for now, is a type of weapon class. Which is going to be great for us, because that gives us the ability to manipulate that class the way we want. So are we going to have some type of C# scriptable object doing that? And that's what I think I actually am going to do. It's going to be scriptable object. Yeah, definitely a scriptable object. We pass it a game object and it does the movements for us. Yeah, weapon movement. We pass it a game object and it does all the work. So, yeah. This will be a scriptable object. Okay. And in the start method, no, we will not have a start. Doesn't need it. Oh, that's right. So we're probably going to need a reference of some type to the actual state. Well, no, actually we don't. Because in this form right here, we are lerping it, okay, to the position that it needs, okay, which is fine and everything, right? We're just lerping a transform into a vector, and we're actually passing it a float as well. So what we can do is take this function right here and refabricate it into what we need. So here we go. We are definitely going to be doing weapon movements. is it going to be? No, it's not going to be in there. We're going to put it into its own little space, and we're going to get all these errors and stuff, and it's going to be cool and awesome and totally legit. So in our inputs, we have a weapon dot weapon class dot inputs, and we are going to have to do a lot of that. And this is the beauty about having statics like this, is you can reference them really easy in other scripts and all that fun stuff like so, and do all this cool stuff. Okay, and we've got this, 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 this. And the really great thing about this is if we have problems with the gun movement, guess what? We only have to go to this class right here. We don't have to go anywhere else. Okay? We know what's going to go on, and there you go. So, our go position. How are we going to do that? Well, here's the thing. Are we going to do it this way? Into a float, and it's going to have to be public game object, and it's not going to be a void. Okay, weapon states. What all do we need? Well, we definitely need a vector 3. So a vector 3, pause. Okay, actually we don't need any of this. Nope, none of it. Game object, that local position, go, transform. We can eliminate all these errors right here by using our static references, or we can give it references to itself. So we don't do this. We don't need it to do that. Okay. But we do give it a game object, so it's going to have to return something. Okay, maybe we will make this a void. Actually, we will. We're going to make this a void, because now I can do something like this. Weapon dot class dot gun dot transform dot stuff. Okay, and we're doing all that stuff, so we're gonna have to go and do our referencing like we're supposed to. Okay, and it's doing everything it did before without a hitch. The only difference is we're referencing it a different way. There is a bad side to referencing it this way, but it only depends on if you change this from a singleton and goes somewhere else. Okay, if you mess with the original state thing, then it just breaks your project a little bit. But we're not going to get away from the singleton because it's great. Why would I want to get away from a single type of thing and just go into multiple types like that again? That just makes no sense to me. It would be actually quite useless for me to change that back to what it originally was. I wouldn't change it back. No, no. I'll pass on all that idea. So we've changed all the stuff to what needs to be changed to get the gun. Okay, and it doesn't matter unless the gun is null. So we have to make sure that if the gun's null, the movement stuff doesn't do anything, which is fine. I mean, that's easy changes, okay? So what should we do with some of this? Well, the easiest thing would probably be make it based on weapon stuff that's already there. But I kind of don't want to do certain things, but I kind of do. And what I mean by it is, this class, I feel, that if I do it this way, then later on I'm going to hate it because of it breaking on me. But maybe not. I mean, there's always cases of breakage in certain code aspects anyway. But I could do a check before we even update the weapon movement or anything and just not have it update at all, which would fix a lot of the issues, but you know, just one of them things. All depends on how you want to structure it. But we're not going to have that issue because of it's just not going to be a problem for us. And the reason why it's not going to be a problem is because we're not going to change. But what I mean by a check beforehand is in our update right here that we're doing for systems, weapon states, we're going to have another one up here that's going to be a variable. Okay, and we're going to have a public, and this is called weapon. Really? Okay, there it is. Weapon movements. We'll call this gunplay. Okay, so we have a reference to it and everything, and it's going to be a script, so it's going to be all good and everything. But we can do this: if gun equals null. Oh, if gun, actually our weapon update logic and update states and stuff, update states, the weapon should never be. Let's just do this for now. If gun does not equal null, because we'll rework this logic a little bit and adjust it until it works beautiful again. So if the gun is not null, we will definitely do gunplay. Okay, we will definitely do gunplay dot weapon states. which is our update loop and everything else. This will update every single frame and have not a problem for it. Okay? Not a problem whatsoever. But we definitely need a script that will make all these scriptable objects. Okay, so it says weapon. Okay, so I did not save everything. Usually I'm just spamming Control S all the time out of habit. Okay. Oh yeah, it's because we don't have that stuff. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so in our gun movement, we do not have a lot of these variable classes, and man, I will be back because I've got to do some stuff. That's for sure. And so we'll take a nice little break for a second. Okay, and we're going to be back here. So, what do we have going on here? We have these helper classes and stuff like that where it's not doing its job. So, this brings up to the next thing, that question. Okay, when it comes to gunplay movements, this is a scriptable object. I don't want to fill in a variable at runtime and stuff like that. So it's probably going to be part of my weapon class as well. Which there's only going to be one variable of it. And an it what? Wait. Where's my animator? Okay, and we do this anim. Okay, so we got an anim variable here. So instead of doing that right here for gun movement and stuff, we are actually going to get rid of this helper class stuff anyway, because it kind of stinks. Well, it does what it needs to do, but you know, it's just one of those things that it doesn't have to do it, right? So what do we do? This will definitely be part of the weapon system. Again, dot weapon class dot anim. Okay, and this gives us our animational class. Everything that deals with the anim, and it will always exist because we are going to have, you know, that kind of stuff around. And that's one of the weapons right there. And this was another part of the weapon. Okay, man, and this is part of our helper class that we used to have, which no longer does anything. And another type of helper stuff, which is junk. And we have our stuff. So we have all this and everything. So what do we have to do next? Our next tackle is, how do we get this weapon data right here and our weapon zooming and stuff like that? Well, that's a good question. And we also have a variable for move, which, you know, kills out our run animation and stuff, which, you know, that's fine. I mean, You know, that's what it's there for. The rest data is part of the weapon data class. That's the data of the weapon. So it's not hard to believe to say this is our, let's start from the top. This is our weapon rest. So we're going to go to weapon. Dot weapon class dot weapon data dot rest. Okay, and because it's part of that collection and everything, it will always exist. So we will be fixing stuff this way. So all that stuff is coming from a singleton class like so. And this will be coming from our weapon stuff. This will be coming from our singleton stuff again, and vice versa. So everything's coming from a singleton instance and always being there. We're just replacing data and updating data. Now we have this move thing, which is something from the player. And I think, in all honesty, I am not going to bother with that yet, because that's part of the player restructuring, which we will probably want something for the player itself. So we know what's going on. But we can fix this a little bit. We can fudge this a little bit. If moving does not equal vector 3, 0, we turn running false. Okay, so how do we fudge this a little? And it's very, very easy. All we have to do is, well, actually no, we will come back to this, because I do not want to mess with this until it becomes time. Which this is not, because we're using a player controller, and we might use a rigid body later and stuff, so we definitely don't want to go too soon and start messing with too many stuff all at once. Okay? We don't need this update. We already have everything we need, like so, and there you go. So in our main class, right here in our weapon, which is becoming bigger and everything, but that's fine. This does our update for our weapon sway, which is great and all. That works just fine and stuff. Which weapon sway is actually, what is it? Is it still a go to declaration? Yeah, it's just a pure C class. We're not actually doing a scriptable object to that. That's fine. You know, that's what we want anyway. So, okay. So we've done this weapon states. I wish I could fold this. That would be really nice. And we got away from that. So what about this kickback thing? Okay. Well, our kickback is another class that I believe should be part of gunplay stuff. You know, makes sense. I mean, really, it does. I mean, it's not really something that makes sense to have any place else. So this will also be in here. But how are we actually calling this? Well, yeah. We're definitely going to be calling it out of the weapon movements. It can definitely do something of that nature. Okay. And this is a public void vector 3. Okay. Alrighty. So this does the same thing as here. We're just using a gun object instead. Okay. That's that. Alright. And we have to change this a little bit because we're not on a local position of that anymore. We are doing a vector. Oh, wait. That's wrong. Whoa. And we need all this stuff. Yeah. I know, right? It's a long, hairy looking line. But I'll tell you what, it works. It works, baby. It works. So, yeah. And we do that, and we have liftoff. So now we have this weapon info.kickTime. Yeah, definitely going to have to change that. So what do we have here? We have this begin and end. This ends here. Then the class ends. Where's the class end? Right here. So why is it given an error of some sort? That makes no sense to me. Okay, we've got an open, close, open and close, open and close. Ooh, open, close. Well, we don't have a main close, do we? Yeah, that's the problem. Curly braces, they get you every time. No matter how long you've been programming, they'll get you. So let's, here, okay, this here, then another one for that. And this one closes the weapon states, but we have another. Wait, that closes weapon states? Really? So it's actually probably needing up here. That's what's the problem. Alright, yeah. So there, and then we have one here. So this closes the class. That closes weapon states. Okay. This is a totally different function. Okay, so we have that. We need the lowercase transform. And that's the same case here. And here. And we have an issue with our kickback. And this is the kickback time. Go away. Weapon. Dot weapon class. Dot data. Dot data. Atom. Huh? Oh, weapon data. Okay. Dot kickback. 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 Okay, so we have this. Now, do we have a class helper dot muzzle flash? And I believe we do not, because that was part of the muzzle flash stuff that happens. And that right there is an enumerator, which those cannot be processed in that type of class. So this kind of sucks. But the good thing about it is, since we have a base class for it, go to declaration, weapon helper, go to declaration. Okay, this is a mono behavior, and it done all kinds of stuff, blah blah blah. But we can have this a pure class, and it can do everything it needs to do. Okay, so it can do everything that it needs to do, so we can do it like we do the weapon sway. So we can have a single instance of it again on our movement, which our movement class is starting to become big, I know, but, well, that's okay. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? What could possibly go wrong? But it brings up to the motion of we have a transform that we're doing stuff for in a particular way. So it brings us to the notion that when we do changes, we're going to have to parent something somewhere or do some type of function to change the muzzle flash stuff. And what I mean by that is in our helper class, this helper class exists to be part of the actual weapon. But I don't want this to be part of every single weapon because that just seems silly. But it makes more sense as I think about it. This should be part of the weapon stuff. So, yeah, we are definitely going to have to do something about that. The clips, we're going to have to send a clip of some kind and different variety of things. But actually, instead of doing all this, well, actually I could do that. What I'm thinking about doing, instead of doing all this and everything, I can personally, actually I could just instantiate this every time. Or something of that nature. It's got an animator and all that stuff. Ugh. Man, that's going to be pretty messy to deal with. But, you know, it's one of those things. Actually, I'm not going to deal with that yet. We've got our sway done. We've got our moving stuff done-ish. Muzzle flash is kind of an art thing and stuff, so we may not need that type of gunplay action yet, because we're getting the baseline stuff. So in our weapon states, we got rid of that functionality, mostly. But we have this laser object, and man, that really makes me want to have a helper class that also, if I have a laser object, because it could be a script. I'm fine with it being one script. I mean, yeah, there's going to be overhead for it, but look at it this way. That's the only script that's actually going to be duplicated multiple times. And in all honesty, that's not really that bad for something like that. I mean, yeah, it's bad, but it's not really. Because there's going to be stuff that I don't want to find at runtime that I'd much rather do get a script that's a reference for everything and do it that way than to have it just be like really badly in there. So what could we possibly do with next? Oh, we do need to make stuff scriptable objects. We need the functionality to make them. So right now we have weapon systems, okay, which is fine. So we're going to take this and we're going to have to copy and paste this. And we are going to have to do something of the nature of the other type of systems. So what other systems do we have? We have weapon systems. weapon-based systems. We have an FPS maker, which I believe we already have a scripting for that. Gun movements, that is definitely a scriptable object. Okay, so we do have a need for a scriptable object on that. Okay, so we're going to call this weapon movements. Systems. Okay, and this will be part of and we just need to paste it in here. Paste it here, paste it here. Why is it giving us that for? That makes no sense. Wait, weapon movement is not a mono behavior, so it should not be crying about that stuff. Oh, it's got the same function name. Make FPS asset. Wait. Really? Did I not save yet for this? Is that what that is all about? Do-do-do. Really? Come on. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do. Static. This. A new item. Okay. Yep. Alright. So, now change this to create an instance and that. Why are you red? Did I spell it wrong? The name does not exist in this context. Why? Why does it not exist in this context? Static void, that. That makes no sense to me. Is it because this exists in the script? It's cut. No. Okay, I'm officially confused. I am officially, like, super confused. I am super confused. Okay. Weapon movements, they're all in the same folder. Okay, and that stuff. UI manager, our manager. Okay, my compiler didn't even give me a problem with that. But it says in my let's look. It says it has a problem in the script, right? So my compiler didn't even do anything. Alright. I mean literally, it did nothing. Okay, I could sit here and probably build it and it wouldn't have a problem. So what's the big deal? Okay, so let's try to use it. Movement systems. Okay, no errors. Alright. So where's my asset, right? I'm officially confused. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense to me. Like, totally. No sense whatsoever. It's a public class, right? Public, public, public. So I got like the static thing, okay, like it's supposed to be. So movements. Oh, right. System dot serializable, because we want to make it serializable. So in our advanced weapons, it's serializable now. So can we go? No. Okay. Weapon movement. Okay, I'm officially really confused. Using system. That's the only thing really different. And advance. Movements. Weapon movements. Okay, I am confused in so many ways. Type of. Okay. And yeah. So, like, why are you not doing your job? I mean, don't get me wrong, the compiler doesn't give me an error or nothing like that, and I don't have any like script stuff here, right? Name, this thing. Ooh, here it is, advanced scripting. Oh, okay, I couldn't see it. Okay, wow, that thing did not go where I want it to. Okay, that's fine. So it actually works, but in the editor it gives me a problem. What in the world is up with that? So advanced scripting, weapon movements. I need a / here. Okay, so it will compile again. And hopefully this time I don't get errors or nothing like that. That would be stupid. Okay, so we got that. And now I can go up to here and do weapon movement system. Okay, movement system. It has no public variables or anything. That's kind of a bummer. But we need it. So this movement system goes here. Okay, and we have our weapon data container. Okay. And we have all of our buttons that need to be there. And inputs. Man, that is one good looking weapon system, and it does a lot. But check this out. You've seen that it worked and everything else, but look at my code. It's complaining. It says it does not exist in this current context. Talk about silly, stupid errors. Now I wonder, I'm just going to close mono, go back over to whip system, okay, and we are going to go open this up again. Okay, and this should show up again. Alright, mono, and reload. And what do you want to bet? It says it does not exist in the current context still. Oh, nope, after it reloaded, it fixed itself. Okay, so it got stupid, so it fixed itself. Alright, that's cool. Now that wasn't irritating or nothing, right? So we have our weapon movement, weapon system, and we have it doing its job the way it needs to do. And, well, it doesn't do exactly everything yet. So this is weapon movement. We're fine with this. This works. But the problem with it is we still have all these other systems that we got to tie into. And the thing is, we need an update that will do everything that needs to be done for our weapon. So what I'm thinking about is this stuff right here. Each change states and all that stuff. So what could we possibly do that would shorten this and put this into a decent sized weapon? I think there is absolutely nothing that we can do about this. We would have to take this whole entire thing right here of our inputs and reloading and everything else and have it. Just like these right here, nothing that we can do about that. Nothing whatsoever. We'll change the calling and stuff, but there's nothing really we can do about it. And here's animation. And then we have to have our enumerators in a mono behavior or a pure C class. It can't be part of our other system that we are designing. So most of these functionalities and stuff are actually done right now. We actually have most of this stuff all out of where it needs to go. So really our base system does nothing but the sway. Wait, really? And array firing. It's kind of a bummer. Well, not really. Because if we do other logic like instantiating bullets and other stuff, we can have it all in here. We never have a problem with that. But our weapon script has references to everything that needs that was duplicate all the time. So we don't have duplicate of these variables. We don't have references that are all over the place to this stuff. Our animator will always, do its thing. Gun movements is not duplicated anymore. Make weapon, that's going to be changed a lot and everything. So, yeah. And we got a singleton to our weapon. And our weapons base system does all ray casting stuff and damage stuff. So, what is it that the player needs to do something? Alright. And this is a very good question. Very, very good question. How do we damage players and how do we load information into the world? Now, me personally, I had the old logic for our manager to compare game objects. So I would have this single variable right here, and then I would have a list of game objects that I had before. But we want something a little bit more advanced this time around. So what I'm thinking is we'll do the same thing where we're comparing against the array, and then when the animation is done, like completely over, which is our coroutine of, hey, if it's in, what was it? We done this, we have the coroutine disable the object. So when it's disabled, we will instantiate our new object or vice versa. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to cut the stream out because it's gone for like a really, really long time, and I'm hungry and stuff like that. So I definitely am going to be coming back to this. But my next project will probably be dealing with our RTS or not RTS, but um, our tower defense project, because I'm not too happy on how that is designed, and I think I can do a lot better, like a whole lot better, and make it a lot more functional, like we did with our ray casting and stuff like that. When it comes to shooting, I'll just have it request to shoot and pass in a bullet, and it does all that. So a lot of that code and everything's going to be like moved, and really awesome. So this is Wardon saying good night, code happy, and I hope you enjoyed the stream and everything else. And this project is going to be up for Patreon and everything like that. So if you are interested in all that stuff, and you do that whole thing, then you know it'll be there. But yeah, so like, hit subscribe, and do the whole YouTube stuff. And there's more coming. Trust me, I'm not done with this project yet. Nowhere near. So take care, guys, and peace.